All right, guys, we are on my workbench. Now we have to work on the calipers. I'm just going over the instructions. This is your outer pad in case they come out. That will go there. Then you have your inner pad with this nipple. Okay, this nipple needs to go right into this slot. There you go, let me take that out. You see this slot right here? So you have to make sure when you put this pad in, it aligns there like so. Now this outer pad, if you look at the instructions, you have to bend these tabs here and here. So it is I'm going to get this out of the way. So this is a snug fit here and here. They're telling you to bend these to the point where it'll lift up the pad a little bit in the bracket. You want this to be a firm fit because this is what keeps the pad off the rotor when it's not applied, according to these instructions. Also, number 2, there is like this, I'm gonna call this like a C-clip, and this one actually popped out while it was still in the box. So I had to look at the other one that came in the box in case both of yours popped out. There is a ridge here. Focus. Come on. You see this ridge here? I'm spinning it around just so you guys can see here. That's where this goes in. Then you take your pad with the little thing hanging out. Stick it back in, make sure it lines up. We're hoping. Yep, it's in there. Take your needle nose and just pull it out, and it locks the pad in like so. Now this, they said, just bend with a set of pliers, according to the instructions. Oh, where'd it go? Don't make me look an idiot. Make me look bad. There you go, found it. See how they talk about the stud? And then if you flip this page over, where is it? Here we go, it talks about here. Bend here, and sometimes you might have to grind here. Whoops. Bend here, grind here, but we're gonna try the bending first, and then we will go from there. So we're gonna take this pad, excuse me. Okay, we're gonna get a pair of pliers and close this a little bit. Does it look like it closed a little bit? Let's check for fitment, see if we made anything. No, we did not. So let's see if we could bend. They're telling us for a reason not to hit this with the hammer. That's good. On this side, we have to vote today, so she's working, I'm working, but we have to vote. We have to vote. So we do have a little ways to go. I'm almost tempted, right? I'm thinking, is resting the caliper here and then maybe hitting it with the hammer lightly and then giving it a little bit of a bend? I don't know. Oh, man. Oh. I really am. I really am giving this thing the beans. And this thing is just not moving. Wow. Bend the ears and then install with the plier. Well, these are pliers. Well, a form of pliers. This is crazy. I feel, all right, so this one moved. This one moved for sure. You can't curse here. This is a kids channel. Why are they, I'm not saying your kids should be working on your truck, but Lord. All right, let's try this again. I mean, I felt it move just a little bit. No, we got a ways to go. All right, so these are parrot jaws. They're short. So let's see if we can get, of course these are going to be in your way, but say like that. All right, we did move them because look, now it needs a little. All right, did we move them too much? Now where do we, it says that if this is the case, right, if we bent these too much, which is fine, we will need a set of pliers to install them. I don't want to do that because then we're clamping on the actual pad itself. So let's figure this out. Nope. Nope. There we go. So you guys can see I just rocked this back and forth. Back and forth. Okay. Now we can test fit on the rotor to see. Sometimes we have to grind this lip. Alrighty, let's get our 2 bolts in and let's pray this goes in without a hiccup. Now what's also another tip you want to do is you see these collars, make sure they're pressed out towards the truck so they don't get stuck or hung up on the bracket. Okay, we're in. Where did I put those pins? Idiot. Let's just get one. All right, we're threading in. I'm just doing this by hand. I am not cranking this down because we still have a long way to go. We're there, but we're not there. Now, of course, when you guys do this, please put some coating on these threads so you don't have to line up or lock anything in. All right, so we're in there now. We do have some wiggle room in the caliper, which is expected because one, it's not tight, and two, most likely we have to adjust the brakes, but that seems like that's going to be tomorrow's project. And once that's good to go, I think we can start running our brake lines in the parking brake, and that should be it for this side. Then I'm going to do the passenger side. I don't know if I'm going to do that off camera or not camera, because one side is the same as the other. But she's starting to look like a drum. Wow. Starting to look like a disc setup. So this is where we're at. Whew. Alrighty guys, so here we are. Now we're up to adjusting the parking brake on this. Now when you adjust the parking brake, you're not supposed to have the cable hooked up. And we're going to go a different route than what the instructions told us to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to put vice grips here, okay, and we're going to pay attention here as well. And what we're going to do is we are going to move this all the way as far as we can and let it go back. What we're looking for right here, this gap here between 1/8 and 1/4 inch of spacing. Once we reach that, we know that the brakes are within adjustment. If they are not within adjustment, you will have a weak pedal. There are a couple of ways to adjust the brakes. If you look on YouTube, this one seems to be the best and most efficient. So you cannot over adjust these brakes because there's gears in there. So let me do this and we'll get back. All right guys, so the next step is we have to adjust the parking brake cable, and what happens is we need to figure out the length. So here what I'm doing is, right, the spring, see that? Remember, this is supposed to go inside here. So here we are, right? We're pulling this nice and tight, and what we need to do is measure from here to where it meets the bracket, which is here, because in theory this is supposed to go inside. Now I'm going to leave a little bit, I'm going to try and cut it maybe just a little bit short, because one, human error, right? And it's always easy to take off because there's no way we could add, and then from there we'll be okay. So you could either A, make a mark, make a mark, or just take a measurement with the thing. But I'm just going to make a mark and call it a day. See how this is nice and snug inside? So we know we're getting full penetration inside there. Can't get any tighter. And then if we hold this nice and tight, it almost seems like it's going to meet up with this large mark right here. So I'm going to take this apart, measure from here to this big mark here, and then transfer it over to that side. Alright guys, here's another tip. I just literally lost a half hour and a lot of frustration and aggravation with this spring. I tried putting it on, and of course the driver's side went smooth, the passenger side didn't. This little piece went flying, and I'm partially colorblind, so try finding this on a black driveway after you hear cling, 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 cling. So I can't do this. Let's see, you guys, let's see if I did a good camera angle. But I put zip ties and I staggered them, so it's easier for me to compress the spring. right? You know the spring, the beveled edge goes in. Don't make me look like a liar. I was able to do this without it. No. There we go. Watch your fingers. Okay, beveled edges in. This is not the correct tool. I don't know if you guys seen that. But see how the spring is compressed? And then now we can just clip these zip ties that I have. Come on. That's one. You guys get the idea. Let me get this undone. And we're in. Alrighty, guys. So we are basically here. We are done. Mandingo is finished as far as the brakes. If you guys made it this far, thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate it. Number one. Number two, if you have questions where there's something that I missed, please keep it to the video because other people may have the same issues as you. And together as a group, mostly me, I can answer them and arise and go on and go on. Once we put this out here, it is here forever. This is the first conversion of its kind. So, I know I'm not perfect. Speaking of not perfect, I did not film me routing the brake lines because there are 1,000,001 videos on how to do it. I don't do brake lines every day. So I am not the greatest, so I rather not see you guys go along that struggle bus. Number two, there are a few ways you could do this. Okay, remember, I opted for the brackets that you weld on because I wanted control on where and how I could run my brake lines. So basically, there is this notch that the original line goes through. I basically put it right in front of that notch and I welded it in. Now you always want to leave a bit of a bend because when you pull the caliper off for service, you want to be able to bleed those brakes. So what you could have done if you wanted to cheat, you could have shortened your existing lines and reused the fitting. My fitting, I was not able to be used. Plus also, I wanted to just make new lines. This is nickel copper. You could literally bend this by hand. And here's the passenger side. As you guys can see here, there's notch. I welded it in the same way. You see that bend. This thing is good to go. Right over the hump. I just got to finish up my train horns. I got to tighten down the wiring. Okay, there's also a small air leak. Oh, and the air filter broke off. I don't know how that happened, but that's neither here nor there. And as you guys can see, this is stainless. This is aftermarket. All right, if you want to get the Goodrich kit, I think it's 14121, the fronts and the rears. Now, I want you to do me a solid favor. Ask me how I know. Before you start to bleed the rear brakes, I want you to make sure, the bleeders on your calipers are free. If not, just get new calipers. So that's what ended up happening to me. Got the rear brakes all done, brackets welded, painted, lines ran, started the process. My process was a little different because remember, I popped a line and I wiggled it home and my reservoir appeared to be empty. Just the back, the part that controls the back. I mean, the back of the reservoir controls the front. That was empty, topped it off. So the bleeding was a combination of air, like they recommended, and traditional pedal. Now, if you are not comfortable with bleeding brakes or doing brake lines, by all means, get in hold of a highly recommended mobile mechanic and have them come to the house, have them bend lines, run lines for you, and then help you bleed the system. If you do not have access to a welder, see if they could weld those brackets for you. Now, you don't have to get the weld-on brackets. You can get the bolt-on kit. I don't know where they line up. I'm a little bit of a control freak, and I wanted to weld on the tabs, one, because I have access to a welder, and two, it makes me feel like I kind of did something. But three, I could put those hoses exactly where I want and need them to be, where I feel comfortable, and then I could run the lines where I want them to be. We're just talking brake lines, guys. It's really not that hard, but again, you guys did all the hard work, and there's nothing wrong with getting a little bit of a help. I need a little bit of a help because usually my wife likes to help me, but my buddy John offered to help, so he came here. He helped me bleed the brakes, bend the lines, and the next thing you know, it needed calipers and pads, and it just spiraled out of control. So before you get to this step, if you want to call a mobile mechanic to come help you bleed the brakes and make the lines, do yourself a favor. Before that guy gets it, before you make that phone call, double check to make sure the bleeder screws on the calipers are free-flowing, they're not snapped, they're not going to snap on you. You know, they go through and you are good to go. Now, I ended up getting new calipers again. Okay, the new calipers came with caps. The rear caliper kit from TSM didn't come with caps, so I went on Amazon and I got like 50 of them for like $5. That's the only way you could do it. So I put them on there because what happens is, you can put all the anti-seize in the world you want. What happens is moisture and stuff is going to get on the inside of this hole, and then it's going to rust out internally. Did you guys see the truck's been sitting for a little bit? So you got the rust building up, but these things are great. We absolutely had zero hookups, zero issues with the kit on the test drive and then driving it around because, you know, with the dually and the spacers, you want to ride around for 20, 50, 100 miles, whatever it is. Then you want to check to retorque everything as far as the wheels, and then you are good to go. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I was going through the brake-in period because I run spacers. I am a big torque freak. So after the 50 miles comes, I'm going to jack up the truck, pull off the outside tire, double check the torque on my spacer, put the outside tire back on, drive that again, torque it, and this thing is basically good to go. I'm basically going to call this thing up for wraps. I did start doing other things. I'm sure I'll make a video on it. I got the train horns installed with the switch. I actually picked up a set of Denali door panels, and of course I got another fog light switch because, you know, my goal is to have, we have that truck, we have this one, and we are definitely going to get another one at a certain point in time. Okay, got these installed finally, which is pretty cool. Next part is we're gonna be replacing both front doors because these doors have holes in it, and we're gonna go with the power boosted auto mirrors, and this thing is done for a while. Unfortunately, it's starting to get cold out, and I need to focus on stuff that pays the bills and which allows me to do stuff like this. So again, guys, huge shout out to TSM Manufacturing. Thank you guys so much for putting this kit together. Thank you so much for the constant phone calls from the customer support that you guys offered, which was slim to none. If you don't have a dually and you have a single reel chassis, buy the kit from them. It is a very, very small operation, and their attention to detail and their customer support is next to none. All right, guys, appreciate it once and again. Thanks to the missus for putting up with stuff like this as well. We have to give recognition when recognition is due. Sometimes I'd come home from work and the last thing I wanted to do was crawl underneath this, and sometimes she would get the brunt end of that. With that being said, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button for this video. I know it's long, but if other people have questions and other people want to look into this, algorithm will drag them here. And if you think my effort was valuable, I really appreciate it if you guys subscribe. All right, guys, catch you on the next one. Later.